Woo! Hey everybody, I'm Jim Sammons and welcome to the Kayak Fishing Show live. As always, brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company, although not having a beer today, and as well as all of our other wonderful sponsors who have supported my TV show for the last 11 years. Excuse me. Didn't do any shows last week. Normally we are here every Tuesday and Thursday playing old episodes of the show along with live commentary. So you can bring your questions and comments or anything like that, and it's always a good time. But again, no live shows last week because got into some projects around the house and then not related to the projects around the house. Ended up getting a leak in our upstairs bathroom. Had nothing to do with anything we were doing, but leaked down into our kitchen. So that kind of kept me tied up for a little bit. And then some other stuff coming up. I might not be able to do on this Thursday because new brakes showed up for my Sprinter today, and I need to install those as well as some other stuff. So just going to kind of keep these things going every Tuesday and Thursday when I'm available. So always sign up so you get notified of when we're going to be doing our live shows. But before we get going on the episode, of course, how about my hat, my San Diego Padres? You know, who needs the Chargers when the Padres are doing good? Swept the Rockies, swept the Giants, beat the Dodgers last night, and 2 more games to go. So Padres have been a super exciting team to watch, that's for sure. So, if we got to be sitting around not doing a heck of a lot, at least I got the Padres to watch. Got a couple people checking in. Janos Weiss, howdy, how you doing? Doug Alameda, how are you? Appreciate you joining us. Daniel from Rancho Cucamonga, thanks for joining us, man. I really do appreciate it. Doug joining us from Brazil. I'd love to get back down to Brazil. There are some bigger fish down there with my name on them. Last time I was there, we got a lot of fish, but a lot of them were way up into the trees, the big peacocks, and we just couldn't get them out. The water level, there'd been a lot of rain, and the water level was pretty high. Liam, thanks for joining us from Kayak Fishing Tales over there. Jamie from New South Wales, Australia, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. Jane Wilson, how are you? Thanks for coming by. Excuse me. Got a few people here. Chris Lemons in Texas. And yeah, there we go. So anyway, just like I said, just kind of catching up around here. Sean White is in this episode today. He was, funny enough, he was in the episode, this is season 5, and he's in this episode. He was in the last episode that we aired, which was season 2. Unfortunately, I didn't have guests today because I've been so busy. I just didn't have time to schedule anybody. And when I tried last minute, of course, they weren't available. So but I talked to Sean the other day. He got out on the water on his boat. He's up in Northern California and out of Fort Bragg and got some really nice albacore. And he was catching them on the Siegler SGN. So, that little reel is just so powerful and a great little reel for tuna, particularly when you're getting those, he was getting like 30-pound albacore. So really a great size for that. Oh, Douglas, I fished in Pantanal in Brazil. See, people know more than I do. I can never remember the specifics. Oh, Dave Fowler says, frost on the windshield this morning. Winter is coming here in Ontario. It's hot. It's hot here in San Diego. Of course, send out best wishes to all of our friends in Louisiana, including my daughter. Hopefully they're all safe there and, getting hit with another hurricane. I talked to Jameson Redding this morning. he said the guys at PAC had managed to get all of their stuff moved away from the coast. So hopefully, they don't suffer any damage this time around. Those guys who just keep rebuilding. So Facebook user, good day to you, Jim. So Facebook user is obviously someone watching on the Kayak Fishing Show group page. And when you watch on the group page, you actually need to give Facebook or StreamYard permission to use your name, so we actually know who that Facebook user is. So anyway, today's episode again was season 5, episode 8. It was a road trip to Northern California, and we went up there and fished with Jeff Baker, and then we moved over and fished with Sean White. And it's all freshwater stuff. It's, of course, the stuff that I'm not very good at, bass fishing. And this was in, I want to say 2014. And it aired 2014, which means it was shot 2013, we were in pretty much of a drought at that time. And you're going to see when we're on Shasta Lake, the water level is so insanely low. I mean, you have this huge bank, and then the trees are way up here where the water level normally is. So it was a tough one as far as that goes. I know the stuff on Clear Lake, we ended up getting some pretty nice bass, but that's kind of all I remember about this episode. So gonna have to catch up on it as we go, because I haven't watched this one in forever. So let's bring the episode up on screen and let it roll. And please bring your questions and give us the thumbs up and share this out there. It always helps us if we can grow the audience with the sponsors. And, the more you share it, the bigger the reach, the more the sponsors like it. So I do appreciate that. So here we go.
This week on the Kayak Fishing Show, we're on a California road trip. We drove up last night from San Diego up here to Northern California. We're visiting some of the Jackson Kayak Pro staff. Today we're with Jeff Baker, and he's going to show us around his neighborhood up here at Shasta Lake. We're going to be chasing trout and bass and just enjoying this beautiful spot. Stick around. It's going to be a great show. Word to the wise, if your mama ain't taught you. Don't stand in front of a man and a fish he ain't caught yet. Honey, if the world calls me, tell him I'm fishing. I'm going fishing. Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Wouldn't you like to? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Wouldn't you like to go fishing? I'm going fishing.
Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you by Jackson Kayak. One family, many waters. Kokatat, manufacturing paddle gear in Arcata, California for more than 40 years. Ray Marine, the world leaders in marine electronics. Ex Officio, made to adventure. Seagar, trust Seagar when everything is on the line. And Hook One, everything you need to get out there and hook one. This week on Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show, Jim is hitting the road, traveling up the California coastline to hook up with anglers from all over his home state. His first stop is Lake Shasta to fish with Jackson Kayak Pro staffer Jeff Baker.
All right, we're at Shasta Lake, California, up in Northern California. The lake's down about 180 feet right now, so we're facing some pretty severe drought conditions. The fishing's still good, but the water, you see all the dirt behind me, it's, where the tree line is the regular water level. So I think this is the record, about 180 feet, 183 feet, something like that.
But we're going to be trolling for for trout in here. So we're set up with a little keel weight in front of a dodger, and then a small hoochie, which is a little kind of squid looking thing, and then put a little night crawler on the back end of that, and it's got a double hook setup. Jeff set me up with that, and we're just going to go paddling and trolling and see if we can find some trout. Yeah, if you get yourself right up next to the wall, you can get out of the wind.
I think one of the best parts about fishing up in Northern California, and especially in Redding, when I first moved up here, it was described to me as there's more water within 2 hours than you can paddle in a lifetime. And it's very true. Between Shasta, Whiskeytown, the river, PG&E lakes up in the mountains behind us, there's just all kinds of water.
Started throwing the Soft Magic swimmer in here, and I was working around these trees for bass, and I had it come off of a limb, and I started cranking it fast just to get it away from the limb. I just see this dart come up on it, and I'm like, whoa, I thought a bass or something. And it swam off this way, so I made the next cast that way, started bringing it back. It hit and missed it. I let it sink back down, and it hit it again and ate it. So I got myself a nice little trout here. So the day's not a skunk.
Any species you want to go for, whether it be, crappie, sunfish, bass, catfish, bluegill, trout, any species of trout too, year round.
Stay tuned. When we come back, the guys head to Whiskeytown Lake to see if the trout are biting in different waters. The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Jackson Kayak. One family, many waters. Learn more at jacksonkayak.com.
So that trout I got, like I said, I kind of got up into the trees because out in the middle it had gotten quite windy, and we were just trolling around for trout. And again, this is nothing I know anything about. We just don't do that where I am here. And so, you get set up by somebody else. But I always bring bass gear with me, which, just lightweight stuff. And those Soft Magic swimmers, which was a Patrick Sebile design, like the dart spin, which I have caught so many species of fish, the Soft Magic swimmer I brought with me on every trip, and I literally caught fish at every destination, whether it was saltwater or freshwater, whether it was tuna and roosterfish or pike and bass. So, Patrick Sebile just makes those lures that work. And, I said, I still have a bunch of the old Soft Magic swimmers, and I break them out for fishing weedless in the kelp sometimes. But that new dart spin is such a good lure. And, I've caught like 35 species of fish on it. So, when you have a friend who's a lure designer that makes lures that work, it's very, very cool. Oh, Zach, that was you. That was the Facebook user, I assume. Steve Green from Miranda, California. Steve, how are you, man? Were you getting evacuated? And I should have mentioned this before, wishing luck and everything else to all of our friends that are up in Northern California, or anywhere in California for that matter. It seems the whole state has been on fire. It's been gray or yellow sky every day for the last 2 weeks, it seems. So anybody who is in a fire area, we wish you well, and please be safe. Caesar, how you doing, man, up in Canada? One of our clients down in Mexico, a member of the Kayak Fishing Marlin Club. Zach misses living in Redding sometimes, but no ocean. Yeah, I gotta be near the salt. I really, I like freshwater fishing. It's fun to do, but I love salt water. The bigger fish and stuff is definitely more my thing. Steve, you're under evacuation warning. Well, please, man, be safe. It's crazy the amount of stuff that has burned up. Jeremiah Johnson, go Padres. Hopefully they beat the Dodgers again tonight. Like I said, they swept the Rockies, they swept the Giants, and if they can sweep the the Dodgers, then we will be in first place. So who needs the Chargers? So with no further ado, let's get this episode rolling.
Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you by Seagar, always the best in fluorocarbon, braid, and monofilament fishing line. Welcome back. This week, Jim is on a California road trip, fishing freshwater lakes all over the state. Today, he's fishing with Jackson Kayak Pro Jeff Baker from Headwaters Paddle Sports in Redding, North California.
This morning we're at Whiskeytown Lake, just west of Redding, California. Shasta was a little blown out, so we're going to try Whiskeytown today. It's a little less windy right now, so hopefully it works.
Born and raised on Coronado Island, Jeff has always had a deep love of paddling and fishing. It only made sense to combine the sports, and he immediately fell in love.
When I first started looking at the Jackson kayaks, when I first came around them, it just fit with my paddling style, with what I want to do, and the way I fish and how I fish and the different places I fish. The Jackson just good size fish too. It made more sense than any other kayak out there for me. I had the distance I wanted out of it, the stability I needed on it, as well as I can stand up, I can fly fish, I can spin fish, I can take in the ocean, small creeks, just about anything. It covers most of what I wanted to do. This is a Sacramento sucker or a pike minnow. It's they are a native fish up here, but this is a big one. So this might be the biggest one I've caught this year, or ever out of this lake actually. It's a good sized fish. So kind of a nasty bycatch, but we'll take it. It's a good fight. Look up, buddy.
I honestly had never even heard of that fish before. A pike minnow.
Lake, California. Whiskeytown in particular is a reservoir here, and the water turnaround in this lake, every 30 days it does 100% water change. So the water is crystal clear year round, and it typically stays pretty cold. The reason for that is just the amount of water coming in and out just keeps the water cold. So it makes the trout fishing here excellent, but the bass fishing extremely hard. There are monster trophy bass in this lake, but no one's going to tell you how to catch them. They like to keep them a monster rainbow. Got a little rainbow here. Not very big, but ooh, slimy. So not the biggest rainbow in the world, but nice little guy there. Good coloring on him. Looks healthy. One way to fight another day. There he goes.
This week on the Kayak Fishing Show, we're on a road trip. So we're going to talk to you about the best way and safest ways to transport your kayak for this week's kayak fishing tip.
The kayak fishing tip of the week is brought to you by Yak Attack. For kayak fishermen, by kayak fishermen.
So I want to talk about the proper way to strap down your kayak. It's very simple, not super complicated. I've seen people run their straps through scupper holes and do all kinds of weird things that just becomes more difficult, or running a strap all the way around the boat. You just don't have to do that. So with my J cradle here, I just take one end, it loops around the top, goes around the kayak, comes back down here, and goes around the bar. And you cinch it down. It's very, very simple. If you're doing your kayak upside down, and that's the way most people will carry kayaks, is on a bar rack on their vehicle, you carry it upside down. You're basically gonna do the exact same thing. I would just go under the bar, around the kayak, and under the bar. And the main thing here, it's a funny one, but I've seen people do a lot. It's really easy to tighten if you have the buckle up and pull down. But if you do it this way with the buckle down and you're trying to pull up, you don't have the strength. You can't get your body behind it. to cinch it down really. So you always want to put the buckle on the other side. Pull down, little half hitch, that's not going to slip. A couple of other key points when I'm particularly a long road trip. Whenever I stop for fuel, anything like that, I always jump out, give the straps a tug because they may have vibrated, loosened up. So I always want to give them a tug, make sure they're nice and taut. Another thing that is a good tip, if you're on a road trip, you know, you may be at a hotel, whatever, a good cable to secure them onto your trailer is a good idea. But also what I do when I run my cable, I run the cable through the scupper holes on the boat. And then I go through all my kayaks and then I go around the trailer. And that's key because if I had a catastrophic failure and all my straps failed, I still have the cable to keep them connected. Those are just a few things on how to properly and safely transport your kayak, and that's this week's kayak fishing tip. Dude.
I sometimes miss that old F250. I had that truck for a long time. It was the old, with the 7.3 diesel. It was the one everybody wanted. It was a great truck. But unfortunately, from carrying kayaks on it so long, although it ran great, it was in great case, it was starting to rust out something fierce. So that's another reason to have a trailer versus putting them on top like it is on top of my truck right there, because the salt water drips on top of the truck. But on the trailer, replacing a trailer is a lot cheaper than replacing a car. So it's always something to think about. Some people think that having a trailer is a bit of a pain, but I've destroyed a lot less vehicles. Now I don't even have a truck. I have a Sprinter, so which I really love. So anyway, just thought I'd share that with you.
Thanks so much for showing us around up here. We've had a great time.
Thanks for coming.
Well, we're off from Shasta Lake and we're headed to Clear Lake to go visit a couple of our Jackson kayak buddies and go chase some big bass. Stick around.
Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Hook One. Everything you need to get out there and Hook One. Proven and tested shark deterrent technology. Welcome back. This week, Jim Sammons is on a California road trip, hooking up with anglers all over his home state. Today, he's traveling to the bass-filled waters of Clear Lake to fish with his friends Sean White and Terry Gowan.
We are in Clear Lake, down by Kayak Bay, and really probably one of the best bass fishing lakes in the United States. I think this place has held the BSS one-day tournament record 2 or 3 different times with 5 fish limits of almost 50 pounds.
Terry Gowan is a longtime resident of Clear Lake and a huge fan of kayak fishing.
Hey, I'm Terry, and you're in Clear Lake, beautiful Northern California, and we're going to be fishing in the south end of the lake called Kayak Bay.
Sean White is a Jackson Kayak Pro staffer and has been Jim's partner in crime, guiding in Baja for the past 5 years.
Clear Lake is the biggest natural lake in California, and unlike most lakes of its size, it's actually very shallow. So you really have to look to find much over, say, 30 feet in that lake. But it's that huge area and shallow depth and high nutrient load that make it so productive for largemouth bass.
We are late January, water temps are low, bass are hunkered in deeper water. So we're going to do what I call dragging for cats and casting for bass. And that's where we'll drag a live shiner for the catfish, drag it deep, very close to the bottom, and then dead sticking and slow presentations for the largemouth.
Well, it is, I think it's sort of the surface area to volume ratio, high nutrient load, lots of cover. There's both, so it's got a lot of shallow margin because it's not a big steep type lake. So all around the edge, there's reeds, there's submerged trees in the spring. There's rocks. There's all sorts of volcanic formations under there. It's really kind of everything you'd want in a bass lake.
Today, not a bad looking bass. And like I said, look where the hook is. The live bait even. It's just right in the corner of the mouth. It's pretty crazy.
Shallow, so it gets warm, so metabolisms ramp up. And then on top of it, just endless food. There's a native hitch here that's relatively abundant. And then there's all sorts of other warm water species to sort of round out the food base. It's kind of the perfect place.
So another nice fish. Boy, it was just pecking at it, and then picked up the rod and set the hook. And again, you can see literally right on the lip, which is great. This is a nice one. That's probably about a 3.5, 4 pounder. Can't go wrong with fish like that.
Out here at Clear Lake, kind of ducking up here against here to get out of the wind a little bit. And just soaking some baits for bass. And Sean has been schooling us because he's got 4 bass. Terry has none and I have none. I haven't had a single bite. So, I don't know. The boat I'm paddling here in NorCal this week is the Jackson Kayak Cuda 14. Well, why? Because it's my personal boat. I have it at my home, and that's what I brought with me was all the boats from my house. It's a great paddling boat. It's great for that bass fishing because you can get up and stand up at sight cast when you want to. Very comfortable for the long hours on the water.
Well, I'm paddling the Jackson Coosa. My origins are in river boating, and I appreciate many things about the Coosa. It's high volume, the campability of the boat where I can do an overnighter and it won't affect its performance. I'm a big fan of the high seat position, not just because of the visualization that I get, but I feel as though it adds to my casting range. And I always appreciate standing up in any kayak because of the sight fishing. I'm fishing in shallower waters, and I do enjoy sight fishing.
Stay tuned. There's plenty more bass fishing action as our California road trip continues. Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by DeLorme InReach. Follow Jim Sammons' Big Game Adventure live with DeLorme InReach at kayakfishingshow.com.
So we had a couple comments here. That was it. Have you ever yacked Silverwood Lake? I don't think so. It doesn't sound familiar. And again, I don't do a whole lot of freshwater fishing. This one again was a special trip, and I know we had planned on doing some saltwater fishing. And as usual, when I try to go saltwater fishing with Sean, they have very narrow weather windows up there where you can get out. And that happened to us again on this one. So we had to stick to the fresh water. Yeah, Caesar, not a whole lot of saltwater up in Canada, but that's why you travel, right? That's why you've gone to Baja and to Panama and, caught marlin off the kayak. Jeremiah, yes, you're a legend, man. Hit me up next time you farfish. Oh, garfish. Where are you, Jeremiah? You probably said it farther up, but anyway. And have I been back? I have not been back up since the water levels have come up. At least not to these lakes. So I know they did come back up. Maybe the next year or the year after that, where we had some really good rains. But that was crazy how low Shasta was. It was amazing. Zach, you were also talking about your micro sport. Yeah, they are great little trailers if you're only carrying 1 or 2 boats. I have the Mega Sport now, and I've got 2 Krakens on edge and my Blue Sky flat, and carries all 3 of those. And then I can yank the Blue Sky off and throw other kayaks on it as well. So pretty cool thing. Caesar, yeah, Sean and Terry are 2 super cool guys. Terry and Sean also members of the Kayak Fishing Billfish Club. What is it, Zach? Freshwater fishing is a silly endeavor, and by that I mean I suck at it. We're in the same club. It's not very often that I outfish anybody when it comes to freshwater fishing. I mean, if it's good bass fishing, top water up in Canada, I do pretty well. But somebody asked me, I did an interview with some people the other day, and they were asking me questions about bass fishing and how to break down a lake and all that. It's like, I don't know. I really don't. That's why I go fishing with people who know the area and know the fishery, and then I just do what they tell me. I'm never going to claim to be a great bass fisherman, although I'm better than Chad Hoover because he challenged me to a fish off and I beat him. So I must be better. So let's keep this thing rolling.
Jackson Kayak's Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Raymarine Dragonfly. View the world beneath your boat with photo-like clarity of chirp down vision.
Bass fishing up in Northern California, I was doing a lot of different fishing, so I brought several different all-pro rods at different weight ratings, going by the size of lures I was using. We threw a lot of different lures, and we even fished with live bait. So that was the nice thing about having these all-pro rods. I had a full selection of different weights that I could use. On the rods, I had all low-profile reels. I really prefer bait casters, low-profile reels. That's what I'm most comfortable with. On the reels, I have them all loaded up with 20-pound Seaguar Kanzen braid. And then I would vary the top shot depending on the lures I was using on different weights of Seaguar fluorocarbon leader. Check it out.
It's been a great morning of bass fishing on Clear Lake. After a quick lunch at a local Paddle Up pub, the Richmond Park Bar and Grill, it's time to haul in some big bass.
Clear Lake is the largest natural lake within California borders. It's said to be one of the oldest lakes in North America. It's 113 miles around, but only about 20 to 40 feet deep in most areas. So it is a giant bass and catfish pond.
I'm not, a dedicated bass angler by any stretch. I kind of like to come over here really just to sort of do something that I don't normally do. I usually fish saltwater. And when I come over here, it's primarily when saltwater is closed. So this time of year, there's no tuna offshore. Our ocean seasons are closed. And it's sort of my favorite time to come over here because, number one, it's not crowded. Clear Lake during the summer is just tournament after tournament after tournament. And this time of year, you can kind of have the place to yourself, and you can catch some huge fish. Well, the trip has just been great. Terry is always a gracious host. He's got an amazing house, great view of the lake. Just when you're here, you definitely feel like, you're sort of in it. You wake up, you look out the window, and there it is. And then, the place where we launched today, it was just sort of like man paradise. You launch, you come right back to your launch. There's an amazing bar and grill right there, still looking at the lake. And it just makes it for a really nice day. It's the whole package. I think Northern California is a fisherman's paradise because it has pretty much everything you could want in a reasonable distance. I live a little bit towards the coast, and basically within an hour from my house, I can fish for trophy largemouth, albacore tuna, rockfish, and steelhead. I mean, it's an incredible array. Most guys, you got to travel to get to one or the other, and literally from my house, I have everything from tuna to steelhead in just a short drive. He's running short races, and he's running out of places to fall.
This one's big, but I'll take it. Finally. Oh my gosh. Finally. The skunk is off. And I've been struggling all day. Sean's got 5 fish or something. Terry just got 2, and I hadn't had a bite. Finally got a fish. Whew. Thank you. Thank you. And there he goes.
I think the thing I really like having the best on my boat this particular trip may have actually been my little Visipol Carbon. This is a bass lake, and people drive really fast on the water here. I never really had a flag before, and we were fishing in Baja this year, and we were using flags. You know, me and Jim spent a lot of time trying to find our clients on the water, and then when we had them, it was amazing how much easier it was to see everybody. I really had, I think, sort of underappreciated how effective they are. So I set up my own boat at home for one. And it was really nice last night when we were rolling in at dusk to know that not only did I have a flag, I turned the light on, and you know, you could really see it from quite a ways away. And it's just a no-brainer, really.
The sun sets and it's time to head in, but Jim's California road trip is far from over. Tune in next week as Sean, Jim, and Terry continue to pull big bass from Clear Lake, and we take the road to hook up with Bam Miller to fish the Delta in Lodi, California.
Well, it's starting to get dark. It's time to head in. We all got a fish and had a really good time up here on Clear Lake. Join us next week while we continue our Northern California road trip.
Yeah, I think any place you can go and launch and then come back and have lunch overlooking the water and a beer, and then go back out for the second half is a pretty cool place. And of course, fishing with Sean is always fun. And you know, for me, it's always about who you're fishing with. And fishing with Sean and fishing with Terry and Jeff. I mean, it was just a great trip. And you know, that's why I love to travel, and that's why I like going to different places. It's, you know, you want to catch all these other different fish, but it wouldn't be the same without meeting all these great people, and that's why I love what I do. Douglas, kayak fishing could invest in Brazil. Kayak fishing could invest in Brazil, or Brazil could invest in kayak fishing. I'm not really quite clear what you mean there, but actually had a long conversation with the interview, and it's actually would still be up. I think I have a link to it. The interview I did with the guys from Puerto Rico on Sunday, and you know, we talked about the finances of fishing, and you know, commercial fishing versus tourism fishing, and you know, how much more value there is, you know, in renewable resource and catch and release, and investing in fishing tourism, where you have people coming in and they're paying for guides, they're paying for lodging, they're, you know, eating at restaurants and all that, versus going out there and commercial fishing and destroying a place. So it's very different. And you know, I mean, obviously we need commercial fishing, but I think places that invest in recreational fishing, which unfortunately Puerto Rico has not done a lot of, even though Puerto Rico is an amazing fishery. So they are actually working on the conservation end of things and getting their tourism behind fishing and all that. So that's pretty cool. Zach, do I still guide in La Jolla? I would say yes and no. Excuse me. Hey, I wasn't guiding a whole lot because I was super busy with all my travel. And then this year with back issues and COVID and everything, I haven't guided at all. You know, will I get back into it? Yes, maybe. I think it's more, I don't necessarily have to do it as a full-time job as much now. So doing it as maybe a sideline again and guiding selectively, because I have guided kayak fishing for such a long time. You know, the back doesn't like it as much anymore. You know, having to schlep multiple boats instead of just one, it becomes tough. So I still enjoy it. I still enjoy sharing the sport, but to have to do it, you know, 6-7 days a week like I did in the past, I'll probably never go back to doing that again. So anyway, oh, I thought I saw another question there, but I was mistaken. Excuse me. So like I said, we do these every Tuesday and Thursday, kind of on availability. I should be doing one this Thursday, but that will kind of depend. I'm still in the middle of these projects at the house, and like I said, new brakes showed up for my Sprinter that I need to work on, as well as some other stuff that showed up that I need to work on. So you know, look for us every Tuesday, Thursday, but also always, you know, make sure that you are subscribed so you get notified whenever we're going live, so you don't miss any of these episodes. So anyway, I really appreciate you joining us. And until next time, please, if you're going on the water, always wear your PFD and keep your paddle right side up. Y'all take care.
Word to the wise, if your mama ain't taught you, don't stand in front of a man and a fish he ain't caught yet. Honey, if the world calls me, tell him I'm fishing. I'm going fishing. Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Wouldn't you like to? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Where am I headed? Wouldn't you like to go fishing? I'm going fishing.